Thursday, March 5th at 4:30. You got a motion to open the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't have any minutes, mail, or appointments tonight. So, I know we've been covered in snow, but we'll start with Steve and then, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, no, Dana's first operations.
Yeah, real quick, as far as what we're handling at this point, we're still booking events, filling out the outing calendar, updating the website with some new imagery and different layout. And we're installing the computers, IT, they came in, so we're gonna jump in there and get those up and rolling. And that's pretty much where we're at. Trailer's still standing,
No, nothing, no damage or anything? No extra damage?
no extra damage, just normal aging.
Wow.
The toilets didn't blow up? Or sink more? One of the
Are
other.
you-
Yeah, the bathrooms are not there
They were
anymore.
just sunk.
They're on the first floor.
Are you back in?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Any other questions of Dana then about that? Now we can move on to Steve.
Just a couple things that I wanted to go over. Basically, since the second snowstorm, we haven't been able to get out. Did I give everybody?
Yeah.
Everybody one? Let me bring mine up here so I can.
Use that.
Yeah, so basically since the second snowstorm, we haven't been able to get out onto the course. So we've been primarily doing things inside. Of course, the only thing we had been doing outside was snow removal. I wanted to take a second just to thank Dan Menard from DPW for coming down that Thursday after the bad storm and opened up the road, or else we probably wouldn't be in there yet. And this begs the question at some point in the future, amongst the many things that we should consider, we should probably consider some type of vehicle that we can use to plow that entryway, because when the DPW gets in circumstances like they had recently, obviously they have significantly more responsibilities for the rest of the town. And just as a highlight, we'll get down to, we happened to see that under equipment, we happened to see the vent track there. I just got back from the turf show this afternoon, and they had the vent track. Of course, they probably did this on purpose. They had the vent track with a plow on the front of it and a cab, and the plow would have been able to, push about 30 inches of snow, not, because you can angle it. If you had to push it straight away, that'd probably be another question altogether. But I just wanted to mention that. We have been power washing equipment and waxing it. Real sharpening and bearing and seal replacement's an ongoing thing. We've got primarily our triplexes done. 2 of the fairway mowers, we're working on the older fairway mower, and 2 of the triplexes the older triplexes, the 2 Jacobsons, we normally leave those for last, so we have the Toros ready to go when we start up. And then, of course, we've been changing out motor oils and hydraulic oils and what have you, depending on whether or not that's been called for and scheduled. Couple management-related things besides the budget. Annually, we're required to submit a water use report and a pesticide use report to the state. Those have both been submitted. And I've created my fertility program, soil surfactant program, pesticide program, and aeration schedule for the next year. Now, of course, I put tentative there because I have to take what I've done and compare it to what the golf schedule is going to look like, and see if I can, have to push some things out of the way, change dates, or move things around. One thing, staffing-wise, we were lucky. We had 2 years of returning high school students and college students. Our staff is basically split. We have 55 and older, and we have 18 and 1 or 2 17s. and 120, I think Will was 20 or 21. Those high school students, there's a number of them, they were with us for 2 years who decided not to come back, moving on to college, doing something different and so on. A couple of them are pursuing trades, one of them's going into the Marines. So we have a number of positions to fill. And if you look under staffing there, those are the names of the individuals who've been interviewed, who we'd like to hire, or at least make an offer to hire to fill those positions. Now, normally I would present you with an application or a resume or something to review. These are all seniors in high school, and years ago, you used to start working when you were 12 years old, but this is most of this is most of these fellows' first actual full-time, or full occupancy, however you want to term it, job. So the only thing on the application would have been the name, their address, the school they went to, and a few people for recommendations. So
From Acushnet, these kids?
50-50, 3 from Acushnet, 3 from Fairhaven.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I recognize a few of the names.
I know, I do too. Is it Nick LaJoy from Acushnet?
Yep.
Yes.
He was right behind me.
Yeah. Luke Cathcart is too, right?
Yes.
Good kids. I don't know the other one. Ryan Pius, maybe? I know LaJoy is. I figured Cathcart was. I don't know the other one.
I know Bryce and Aiden.
Bryce, yeah. Acushnet?
Very
Fairhaven. Bryce and Aiden.
Criminal records?
all good kids.
Yeah.
A lot of football.
Yeah, Bryce is a Fairhaven resident,
Yeah.
I can go through that if you want me to.
No.
I just thought it suffice to say that it was.
No, just 50-50 is good
So
for me.
these are kids that you've had before, or where do these names come from?
These are
They submit
individuals who are new, who either myself or Kevin have interviewed.
Okay.
They came, actually, they all went to school together. The guys who were leaving us and the guys who want to come work. So
Spilt over.
So we had,
Filing systems.
we know them past the interview process through the guys who worked for us in the past. But other than that, they're all new.
How'd you get them? You giving them free lunch? Because I know working for you, it's gonna,
No, so it's the saying about free lunches.
Orange
There's none of those.
no, I'm just kidding.
Signing bonus.
Well, we used to get a few people from, what's that school over there?
Bristol
High
Ag?
school, no,
Oh,
the local one.
Oh, yeah.
But then somebody decided to retire.
Yeah, that was it.
That well
Bridge
dried
was
up,
still-
that well dried up real
anymore.
fast.
Although Adam's wife
Yeah,
does.
good connection over there.
Huh?
Yeah, still a connection.
Yeah.
And actually, the group of kids one group of kids that we got from Old Colony, there was 4 of them that stayed together with us
Right.
for 4 or 5 years.
Cox.
Last year,
Yeah,
crew was
Cox.
pretty good.
Nice kid,
Yeah.
yeah. There was 4 of them, 4
Yeah.
or 5, yeah, they all, yeah.
Now the big question of the evening is, opening date.
I'm just gonna back up one second, one in case there's nothing more to ask. Let's just take a vote saying that we agree on these 6 people and Steve putting them forward. Someone wants to make that motion.
Oh, forgot about that, sorry.
You made a motion?
Somebody needs to make it.
I'll make a motion that we accept these 6 summertime employees recommended by Steve and Kevin.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, our next step in that process is getting on the agenda for the Board of Selectmen's meeting, so that it can be presented to the Board of Selectmen. Estimated opening date, couple things about opening. First of all, obviously all the snow has to disappear. And again, this was a significant topic of discussion over at the turf show because everybody's starting to get the same phone call, when are we gonna open, when are we gonna be able to play, and so on. You really won't know that until the snow melts and see how wet things are. I don't, at this point, the step back one step, we had a couple of college kids that worked for us in the past, and one additional person who wanted to pick up some hours in the winter. We were basically out there and had almost everything all cleaned up and ready to go. And then, of course, the snow and the wind came. We haven't even, I don't know what out there, you can't see what's out there on the ground. So I really, at this point, I'm not, I'm going to say I would not anticipate anything until at least the first week of April. Because once everything melts, it's gotta dry. If we can get things cleaned up and it's not quite dry enough, our greens dry down better than anything else. So we may be able to open with just walking, a couple days before we go with carts, but we'll have to see. That's all gonna depend on the moisture conditions and what we're proposed for weather in the coming.
Isn't that
coming
what we
weeks.
usually open up around April, although sometimes we've opened up the last week?
We had one or two opportunities where we could
Yeah.
open up the third week of
March, yeah.
And then what usually happens, you open up the third week of March, and the first week of April, you get whacked with an ice storm or
With something,
something.
yeah.
You're
Yeah,
over
pipes
the
freeze.
barrel anyway.
Right.
Spring work projects, this is just a repeat of what was put down at the last meeting. One opportunity or one item there that I'll highlight is that we have to pull the suction line out of the pond. The floats that we had on the pond, on the suction line, the original floats that were put on the first two suction lines that were here, they're not sufficient enough to hold this particular suction line to the point where we want it to be, and they both broke off at the end of the season. The brackets just basically rusted off from having to sit in the water. So we're going to pick up, we've got the company that takes care of our pump house is going to come in with a crane truck. They're going to help us pull it out of the water. We'll take the foot valve off the end and clean it. There's the foot valve is the valve on the end of the pipe that closes, so you don't get any back loss of water when you're not irrigating to keep the pumps primed. That valve has to be cleaned off, and I'm researching a couple of opportunities for buying some new floats to attach to that pipe, and then we'll have them put that back in, and all that will be done. Hopefully, the end of this month, first week of April, somewhere around that time, as soon as we get out there, so we can get ready to charge the system up. Again, I don't know if anybody has any desire to do cart path work. I just put down a couple suggestions down there. If anyone has any other suggestions, they can be more than happy to write those down. Although I will say, as in the past, unless that project goes out to bid, the cost and timing of that will depend on whether or not we can avail the services of DPW, whether they're available or not. So.
Yeah, we're not getting any early spring projects done out there.
No.
That's for sure.
No, we can't, we make more of a mess than anything else if we try to get out there and do any of that. Equipment-wise, again, it was at the show, I wanted to highlight the fact about the aerators. I looked at two different ones. There were quite a number out there. Looking specifically at the Toro walk behind and the what's called Weiderman is a 3-point hitch. Weiderman took over, was given the rights to develop and maintain the John Deere line of aeration equipment. But again, those, as is with everything else, those are things are not getting any cheaper. I know we talked about aerators in the past. We actually had monies in an article for them, which were not, the Board of Selectmen cut the article down to a certain extent, which eliminated the opportunity to pick those two pieces of equipment up. So I would strongly recommend that we get some form of article for this upcoming spring meeting, because we need to, we need to replace those machines, and we have the dire need to upgrade utility vehicles as well as a tractor. And last but not least, I put down a few dates to remember, specifically to stick out. Monday, August 3rd is fairway aeration. If I can get him in here with enough machines, we don't have to close for the whole day. We only have to close for a portion of it. Same thing with the dry jet on Tuesday, the 4th of August, the following day. And then Monday, the 9th of November is the Greens Deep Time. I pushed that off a little bit later to keep that out of October. And then the other thing we did, you'll see the last item on that list is maintenance Mondays. You'll notice there's only one per month. Last year, I had hoped to be able to work with 2. We had some concern from people that they weren't able to play every Monday the way they normally do and so on, and lost revenue and all that good stuff. So we went with 1 day. It's going to make fairway spraying applications and other things like that a little bit more difficult, because if you get rained on that 1 day, which normally on the maintenance Mondays, that's what we get, it puts us off and we're not able to get done what we need to get done. But those are the dates.
Check your, the 15th, I think, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at June. I'm sorry. Yeah, June 15th is usually the Acushnet police event date.
Was that when it was last year?
Yeah. What's the day after, is it Father's Day? When's Father's Day this year?
I can skip it. I mean, I could, I could back up. Father's Day is the 19th, isn't it usually the 19th? I don't know.
Yep.
It's June, right?
Yeah.
No?
Well, that would be a Friday.
21st.
Is it
21st is Sunday, yeah.
Alright.
So, yeah, that's right, it's Sunday.
So that's gonna be, yeah, that, this is a good
Forget.
So that's fine, perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you, how about the spring iteration? Do you have those? I don't
Does
see.
the small time.
I don't have it there because the spring aeration, in the past, we've done a substantial spring aeration. You went out there with a 1/2-inch tine, made a big hole, put a lot of sand down, brushed it all around, and made a mess early.
Did you
right
small
now-
time last year?
Huh?
So, yeah.
You small time last year, right?
Yeah, my spring, let me see if I can find it here. Aeration. All right, the April, 1st or 2nd week of April, depending on when I can get out there, it's 1/4-inch quarantine.
That's, the what, 6th, 7th, 13th?
Yeah, the
14th?
week of the 5th, as soon as I can get out. It's a small, again, it's a 1/4-inch coring
2
time.
days?
We go down, no, it's only 1 day. It'll probably be that Monday, and what we'll probably end up doing is if we get out ahead, far enough ahead, we can get X number done on 1 day and then, finish up the next day. There's the whole process involves, the aeration, the cleanup, and then top dressing, brushing, rolling, and then watering in. Again, the top dressing and the brushing and the rolling is something I try to do the 2nd day, because at that time of year, we don't have any, or we're very limited in our labor-related staff. So, we can't, if we had labor-related staff, we could blow through 11 or 12 greens in 1 day and finish the rest of the next day, and golfers wouldn't see us. But in this case, what I'll probably do is, I'll probably do the first 6, and then I'll probably jump and do a couple more on either the backside. I usually do 1 through 6, then I can jump right to 12. Because then that way, the way that works is the 2nd day, I'm already on 7. I do 7, 8, 9, 10. I've already done 12, 14, and 15, so then I can jump to 16, and that type of rotation keeps us out of the way of golfers. So we're looking at that first week of April. I mean, I've got the whole schedule. I didn't print it up because I didn't want to inundate you guys with all kinds of paperwork, but
If it's too wet, was that?
well, if it's too wet, if I won't pull a core, I'll just put it off. I'll move it to another week or another day. April pretty much is, let me get this. Move into April. April is pretty much, see, I've got, I don't know if everybody can see it, but that's kind of what April looks like.
Yeah.
Things in blue are greens activities, things in brown are tee activities, things in black are fairway activities, whether it be fertility, pesticide application, or so on. And if you look at April and then you move to June, June looks a little bit different, July looks a lot different, and May is probably the worst, because what happens, you have a lot of things going on in May. Soil temperature warms up, you have to get your crabgrass pre-emergent out, your fairway fertility has to happen, your initial pesticide and wetting agent applications have to go out. So those, instead of saying a solid date and then here it is, especially with a smaller time, we can get something done and be less disruptive. So I figured would take that approach this year as opposed to just blocking off 2 days and saying those are the 2 days we're gonna do.
Any other questions of Steve on these? Yeah.
I have just a few questions. The snow removal, or the issue, or your suggestion of getting equipment down the road. Obviously, what we had, a couple weeks ago was,
Yeah,
It's
it's not
historic, right?
something, it's not something that's gonna happen all the time.
So my question was just in the past, when we get say a foot of snow, which is more common, how does the DPW do? What is your delay time usually?
Normally what they'll do is, timing wise, at the end, you say it snows on a Monday morning, they'll either come by at the end of the day, and what they do is they open the entrance road for us. And it's either at the end of the day or the first thing next morning. And again, their ability to do that all depends on, their responsibilities, throughout the rest of the town, obviously.
Right.
So once they do that, then we're able to we have the walk behind, if you remember when we purchased the walk behind brush cutter, we also purchased a front deck and a snow blower. So we're able to put the snow blower on that and use that to get the snow away from, a couple, 2 or 3 passes away from the building. Then we just take the loader and use that to push the sand, to pile the sand up and put their snow up and push it out of the way. One thing they thought about getting at one point was a blade to put on the front of the loader as opposed to the bucket, because the bucket doesn't give you any directional. It just is just a straight push. So a lot of times you end up going, doing smaller widths of the bucket more often because you can't, you push it and you leave a trail right where because the bucket only fills up in so much. The reason I brought up the Ventrac was because it has a snow blower attachment to it, it has a snow plow attachment to it.
So is it more of an issue of you getting your machines out onto the golf course to do work? Was it an issue?
No, I mean,
getting
I'm
into
not
the
going,
building?
we can get out onto the golf course depending on the depth of the snow. Because, any of the work that we're doing, that we can get to, with 4-wheel drive tractor wise, we do that. It's the question of getting to the building, but not only that, but cleaning up the snow around the building. And it's the other thing too, is being independent. If we get a snowstorm like that, and my guys can't get down this road, listen, I mean, it cost me over $1,000 on the front right side of my truck because I came down that hill and slid around that corner and hit one of them rocks, and there went the tie rod on the front right side of my truck, and that was $1,000 plus the tire and everything else. So, if we can't get that opened up where guys can get down there, I'm not gonna try to force guys to go down there. I mean, so, again, it's
Like a snow budget, or something, just in case?
well, you could try to go out.
We haven't had snow in 5 years, so
Yeah, well,
we got hit this year.
you missed, like Adam said, you missed it, last couple of years we've missed it. And obviously, you can look around town, you can look on the news, on TV, everybody missed it, so to speak. They got used to not having snow,
Well, yeah,
and all of
they
a
did.
sudden they get a little bit and,
Acushnet
hey,
did a good job
what's
out
going
there.
on?
So
They
that's
did a real good job.
okay,
Even?
incredible. So like historically,
Yeah.
when there's 6 to 8 inches of foot of snow, the response from the town has usually been more or less positive for you to get your
Yeah,
guys
well,
down.
We do us last, and
Right,
Yeah, it depends on when we can be fit in.
because if we're getting 30 inches of snow again, and we get equipment that can move snow around, well, that equipment is going to be at the golf course, which you can't get to anyways until the DPW comes and moves it. So it's,
Well, either that or I would,
You'd have to
what
hike.
I would do is, and what I've, done in the past other places, not here, where we have a long driveway like that, at the end of the day, you drive it up to the top of the hill and you park it.
okay.
And
And
walk
then,
it.
well, you park it, you park the truck and the
Yeah,
plow at the
yeah.
top of the hill.
Oh, yeah.
And then the first guy in parks behind it,
Yeah.
starts it up with the, takes it and
Yeah.
opens up the road.
If you know it's coming, yeah.
Yeah, if you know it's coming.
And then I had just one other comment about spring work and projects, just because it popped into my head. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Whenever I play the 7th hole, 10th hole, the area between 7 and 10 is kind of grown in. And your comment too, Steve, your comments where I think the original blueprint is to have that as kind of a waste area, correct? And I just, so
Between 7 and 10.
between 7 and 10, the waste area that's got trees and bushes grown in.
Yeah. Not so many trees now, as we took.
No, you
like,
cut
a lot of them.
Yeah.
So aesthetically, I think it would look great if that was open, and I think from airflow, I would think it would be more beneficial to have airflow.
We've opened it up somewhat. I mean, if as you go down the hill, there is still a group of trees that's past
Past the
shading. Now it's past shading the green because we took out the ones that were shading the green. I mean, if you were to want, those trees could all be taken down. That would open up, you'd be able to physically stand on the 10th green and look at people playing on the 7th green.
Yep.
If that's what you wanted to do. But we have taken some, quite a few of the trees out of there already to open that up. And we did take the spoils from the bunker project and put those over there and spread them out, and kind of created a mound just so we didn't have to truck them away and spend money on trucking.
No, I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were of bringing it back to what,
I like the idea, it's just a matter of.
Well, originally what it
What
was, that was a gravel pit down there. And there is, you cut everything out of there and you'll see back in there, there's an anchor about 2/3 the size of this room. The circumference on the bottom is as big as from one
that's
side
in
of this
that,
room
in
to the
between
other.
7 and
It's in
10?
the trees.
Yeah, in the trees. You can't see, you can't see it unless you might be able to see a little bit of it now, but
Cool feature.
That'd be pretty cool to showcase that.
Well, it was one of the, I guess when they had a rock crushing operation down
There's our
there.
logo.
And it was something that the rock crusher was connected to, so it didn't shake all over the place.
There was a
So-
lot of stuff when they dug that up. I remember going on a visit and they said they pulled out, like the time you did 11, with all the car parts
Yeah, I
that
heard
were
about that.
very.
Yeah.
I put car parts,
Whole
soda,
cars.
soda tanks, like the
Oh, yeah.
ones you have behind the bar.
Yeah,
We pulled out a couple of those. Some of the stuff that Dan pulled out there with the excavator was,
yeah.
and you can see now too, where if you start at the front of the forward tee on 11 and
Yeah.
start walking, it looks like moon craters.
Yeah, I saw
Because
that.
everything's starting to collapse
Sink,
where they
right,
bury it.
Yeah,
It's starting to break down
Break
over,
down, yeah.
20 some odd years, and the ground above it's gonna collapse into it. It's always great to find one of those with the front tire, the rough mower, because the whole thing bottoms out, throws you out of the seat almost.
And then the last thing was just on the equipment, just my opinion, I think it's gonna be a tough sell with what's happening with the clubhouse to get new equipment going forward unless the equipment you can prove is completely dilapidated or doesn't work or just needs complete replacement.
Well, it's, anytime you wanna spend more than 50 cents around here, it's a tough sell. But, and the reason I say that is I'm being sarcastic about that. You really need, and this isn't for my benefit, you're not buying me a Mercedes or Ferrari or a nice new truck. You're buying equipment for the improvement and longevity of your facility. And if you go and look, like for instance, I'll reference the turf show again, where you are as far as technology is concerned, you're getting to the point where you're going to hinder yourself if you don't keep up. Keeping up with the Joneses, keeping your clientele, doing different things to the golf course as golf changes and as golf gets different. I mean, you can even see for instance, just use Oakmont, where we're gonna have the US Open.
Yeah.
You look at it, you look how it's changed over the years. It went from no trees at all, 2 trees, to now no trees at all again. And what I'm trying to do is keep us at a point where you don't have to buy everything at once. It's like, for instance, if you have I don't want to say school, they'd probably get in trouble for that. If you have a building and you got a roof, you got a heater, you've got, plumbing and all that, and your heater goes and you put a Band-Aid on it, and then your roof goes and you put a Band-Aid on it, and then, 4 or 5 years down the road, both your heater and your roof go. And you don't have any money to keep up. So what I'm trying to do is phase things in, and if we had the opportunity or the suggestion to get onto a 5-year equipment purchasing program several years ago, a lot of guys now the ones that can afford it are on 3, and they do a different type of contract. They do where it's not a dollar buyout lease. I forget exactly what type of lease it is, but all they're responsible for is changing the oil and doing routine maintenance. But most people now are on 4 years. But we have to keep that in mind in the future. And if we are to, say for instance, you make a $200,000 profit or something at the end of the year, I've always thought that it would be a good idea, to at least take a half of it, a third of it, whatever percentage you feel is appropriate, put that into the contingency fund or whatever they call it, but spend the other portion on the golf course, whether it be equipment for me or something else, something in the clubhouse, something for food and beverage, but because you get to a point where you're going to be so far behind, you're not going to catch up. And especially technologically wise, when the guy down the road can do 5 or 6 different things that you're not capable of doing, your clientele are going to say, oh well, I can go there and I can experience this for this amount of money, and they can't keep up or they're not doing that. So I understand it's difficult. It's always a difficult sell. It's always going to be a difficult sell. The one thing that I do tell them, and nobody seems to believe you, Ty, I don't put anything on that list that's not needed. We're going to have, if we fill out everybody, we're going to have 16 staff members. We have 3 or 4 greens that we walk up, we have tees that we walk up. We don't have enough utility vehicles that can tow a trailer to put them out at the same time. You want to have different people, we want to have different people changing cups. We want to have an event that goes off at it's a shotgun at 8:30, 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. Well, I want to put, 3 fairway mowers out there, and I want to put 3 triplexes out there, and I need utility vehicles to get people out and around the course. You just don't have enough. So what do you end up doing? You end up shorting the people who are coming to play at 9 o'clock because you can't get everything you should get done to present them with the best course you can under the conditions that you're dealing with. So it's always a difficult fight. I probably won't get one of those. I've already been told by one particular selectman not to come asking for anything in the near future. But I'll go and see. If not, we'll make it through. But you're getting to the point where you're not, it's not going to be possible to make it through the way that we used to.
Did we look into a Beth cart? I think we talked about it a couple.
I put in the word he's researching it.
Awesome.
I personally didn't look into one. I mean, you've either got, C2 vehicles who we work with, and that's one thing I forgot to mention. C2 Vehicles has scheduled us for servicing of the golf carts on Wednesday the 18th and Thursday the 19th of March.
Yep.
So they're gonna come in, hopefully all the snow's gone by then. Either that or I'll have some shovels for them to help them out a little bit.
So I got a couple of guys scheduled too, so as they bring them, do the
I
oil
think
changes,
most,
we'll
yeah, I
gas
think
them
most
up.
of them are, I think Gary guessed a good number of
Yeah.
them, but.
Give them
yeah,
a
we'll
little
serve
warm-up
them. You know,
spin,
you're gonna have
season.
some that the batteries aren't gonna,
Right.
turn them over, you're gonna have others that, the tires are probably gonna go flat on one or two
Oh,
of
yeah.
them, so, they're
For
sitting
sure.
like that, so.
Alright, so the next thing is the next year's budget, which I believe, yeah, appointment with the FinCom is next Wednesday, the 11th.
The 11th, yeah. For those who are visually impaired like me, I just took what Dana did and made it big print.
Perfect.
So the other thing is, though, you'll notice that some of the numbers, are off a little bit. Because Jamie mentioned, not Jamie, the town administrator, but Jamie in finance said it would probably be a good idea to take the,
See,
everybody get one? To take what were termed indirect costs and increase them by 2%. She said that's probably not gonna be the case for insurance. Insurance is probably gonna go up more than that. So, if you look on Dana's sheet and my sheet, there might be a little bit of a difference.
I didn't touch them, because usually when we submit our budget, they take those into the factory, come up with their calculations, and
The other
kick
thing,
out another version of our budget.
I didn't touch the salaries for the treasurer or the salaries for the accountant, simply because I don't know, the 2% that they throw around for our managerial staff, that's, the accountant and the treasurer, those people are covered by the, what's it, ASME contract, so I don't know what their ASME contract calls for, but that's where that increase would come through. So you guys wanna look through there. The thing that, if you look at the very last page, you can see where, or the very last, at the end of the column, you can see where the long-term debt and long-term principal and interest went down substantially. And the other thing that went down substantially was our equipment lease number. And that gave us room to increase areas that have not really kept up with the times to a point and still stay basically with a net zero or close to a net zero increase in overall
As
budget.
Steve mentioned towards equipment, if you neglect certain line items, it's almost impossible to catch up. And I know, looking at some of those numbers, they're kind of open your eyes a little bit. But if you use the other sheet that I gave you, I put two columns to the right with the industry ranges for our positions, and then an adjusted range for golf courses, municipal golf courses in our area that are high volume golf courses, 38,000 to 40,000 rounds. And if you compare our salaries or the increased salaries that we put into this budget with those numbers, some of us are just barely touching the range. And Steve, with how many years of experience do you have?
Well, if you go on total, it's 26 plus, it's about 32.
32 years experience. I have 25 years experience. Kevin has over a dozen years. Isaac has over a dozen years. We got guys not even in their range. And we're the market leader in municipal golf in this area. So I mean, when we talk about infrastructure, our equipment is part of it, but your management team is your biggest asset outside of your property, because we're the ones that are consulting the consultants, we're the ones consulting the architects and the designers, we're the ones giving the input to you guys and previous golf committees as to what our needs are from being the boots on the ground. And I think I know, and those numbers show that they have been ignored for quite some time. So it's a proposal of a budget. You guys can look it over, change it as you wish. It's our job to present to you what we see would be an accurate budget to fulfill the needs of this golf course and assist in its continued growth in the direction that we all want it to go into. Steve and I wouldn't have sacrificed the prime of our careers if we didn't believe in the objectives that we've taken on, with the sacrifices that we've taken on in doing this. And I think with all the naysayers and all the disbelievers, I think we proved ourselves that we can and did make it happen and can continue to. You just got to support those that support you. So with that, I mean, if you take all of our NGF reports and you throw them into Claude and Perplexity and our budget compared to all the other municipal budgets and all the golf course superintendent surveys and all the NGF surveys and all the PGA surveys, those are the real local ranges of where everything resides.
So why, under equipment leases, like what's going off that's making that go down by 43,000? Just curious.
You must have paid off one of the big mowers, I would think. And if something does change with regards to the salaries, I would probably, I was leaving space for them with all the new numbers that we have with the debt and principal and the equipment to do any indirect changes that they want to make. So there is some room within there to get us to a level funded budget.
Yeah, the other thing I was looking at too, because even Steve's version has it like down 9,700. Even if we just kept it level funded, I would take that 9,712 and
Don't
add it
capital.
right back to capital.
Yeah, so that's,
Well,
we had several discussions and we figured we'd give you, the nuts and bolts of it and then we kind of tweak it.
We
from there.
have, right now, in FY '26, or in 2026, we have a $16,400 payment for the one fairway mower. That's got 2 payments left on 5/18/26 and 5/18/27. In July of '26, we have a $28,600 payment on the greens triplex. So that 5/18/26 will come out of the current budget. So that leaves us with 28,600 for the 2 greens triplexes, 17,083 for the tee walker, and the greens walker, 3,774. One of the items that came off was the, our last payment on the Dual Express, the grinders, was 12,125. Our last payment on the walking tee mower, oh wait a minute, that was, yeah, I'm sorry. Our last payment on the walking tee mower was 10,125. The payment in July is for the triplex, 3-wheel drive triplex. That's the 17,083. So we lost those 2 items, and I believe we had 5/18/25 as a fairway mower came off, and then we had one of the rough mowers come off. So according to my records, there hasn't been anything else added. So we come up with basically $65,934 for this coming year.
And this is our final big payment.
Right, only one little one.
Yeah, and we have a very tiny payment next year for our bond and interest. So, in order for any type of, adjustments to be made, this would be the ideal year, to kind of make that play.
On the face of it, I get what you're saying, it's fairly aspirational. I think what you have down there for the salary budgets, it's obviously gonna come down to, you guys are in the union contract now, we all know that, so whatever gets negotiated, it is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, as an initial placeholder, just knowing that doesn't mean that that's going to happen.
No,
Like
I
everybody's aware of that.
totally understand that. And if the union doesn't want to support it, then, and that's the only thing holding us back, well, then.
Is that what's holding you back?
Oh, I know, I think in the previous years, we know exactly what was holding us back.
It's not, that's not holding you back. I think the way you basically you know, and again, I have to, you know, be careful how I speak. If I start back in 2006 and I come up to 2020, you know, this last fiscal budget year, over that 20-year span, if you average the pay rate increases that I've received, which is about the same that everybody else
Well,
has
me and you were the
received.
same, the other
Yeah.
guys have moved up.
Yeah, it goes, the total is between 1.75 and 2% over that entire period. So the average, and right now, I mean, you're looking at basically, and I'll say this because it's the honest truth, if anybody wants to go look at it, the union contract that you're working under right now basically gave you everything you had before. It's just in writing now.
And dues.
And dues. It gave you union dues, and unfortunately, the union dues are 1.5% and your raise is 2%. So what does that give you? That gives you a 0.5%. When the union originally approached negotiations, there were different numbers for pay rates. And the town negotiating team flatly said, take it or leave it, this is what you're gonna get, period. And that's what you ended up with. Now again, you know, we're an enterprise fund. We don't utilize taxpayer dollars. We're dependent on the dollars that come through the door. So we are truly one of the few entities in town whose income is based on what we do
Correct.
and how well we do it. Because if we don't do it well, ain't nobody coming through the door, and he and I can sit here and crow as much as we want about money, but if money isn't there, what do we do at the end of the year? We start chopping. And that's the way we made it work. But, you know, everybody else, you know, tax dollars come in, and I understand how the towns have to deal with tax dollars, and they have to split them up, and it's not an easy task. But we're not drawing from that pool, and we're having a significantly less of an impact now because of the extra 30.
Well, and not to mention.
Extra $95,000 to $100,000 that we've assumed in this budget.
And we're paying indirect costs for salaries of town hall employees as well. So I mean, if we're going to work to benefit the town, which I'm totally supportive of, let's assist the guys that are actually getting it done and putting the money in the coffers.
I don't see a problem with any of that, Dean or Steve, but.
I mean, let me put it this way, if
You
you
know, if I
don't,
was in your position, I would do the same thing.
if you don't,
Am I gonna advance to,
Steve and I have to survive too. We have families, we got bills, we have college
Everybody
educations.
does. And I, you know,
So-
I'll just give you a contract. When I was teaching, it wasn't a good situation. You know, you start at 10, we ended up with 2%, and 1.5%. What's that?
I know,
Nothing.
but
well, see, that's why,
compare that to where the industry standards are versus the 2%, and you are way behind
Oh, I know
the
that.
survival
I know.
point.
But, like he said, it comes down, okay, we're gonna give you that, but we're gonna cut this guy, and this guy.
well, see, you don't, in our circumstance, that doesn't happen
I don't see
because,
that.
you know,
It's the enterprise.
the other thing that that has happened in the past, and has been said to me specifically when we went in for additional, because I've always put in for better than 2% raises, because I personally think a 2% raise is an insult, especially when your cost of living goes up 3%. Well, all you're doing is giving you more taxes to pay in the end. So I've always put in for around between 3 and 5, and it's always been around 1.75 to 2.
Yeah.
And you look at that, and I say, if you don't ask, you're not going to receive. And when somebody tells me that, well, we can't give you 5% because we give the other person 2%. Well, I took numbers off of what we were given for 2025 budget and 2026 budget. I'm not going to go into names or positions, but there were other positions that were offered 8, 9, 10, and received 12% increases where we're 2.
It happens when
So
you
don't,
work for a
so
town.
don't tell me that you can't, because you can't give somebody else something because you know, no, you're not, you know, you're not gonna compare a watermelon to an orange.
So-
You got two different activities, two different jobs, two different responsibilities, and so on. So, again, I mean, it boils down to you ask, if you don't get, you don't get.
Have you
And
guys
so-
talked to your union at all?
Ever?
No, yeah, well,
It's
prior to the
been
last
difficult, but
negotiations.
Has anybody approached your representative from YouTube?
I've-
And if not, why not?
I've approached them about it, you know, initially, I mean, I was on the negotiating team that sat through the, you know, dealings with the town negotiating team. And, you know, and everything, you know, it was difficult at times, but we were able to, you know, to come to agreement on most things. I didn't particularly care for, you know, the salary portion of it. You know, I voiced that opinion when we got to that point. But again, we were basically given an ultimatum. And I personally would rather, and again, you know, I can say this because it's my personal belief. I was never a union guy. I want to be evaluated on my performance, not everybody else's.
Yeah, and you know, and
And I
I'm all
want
for
and
that.
I want my guys,
Yeah, I'm all
my
for
staff to be evaluated on their performance,
Right, right.
not on a group performance.
Individually.
And I evaluate my staff individually. I don't evaluate them in a group. And I don't try to, you know, the comments you made earlier about working for me, my daughter says, both my children work for me. And they said it was probably not the best experience they had because dad wasn't as nice as he was at home.
That's why they went away to school.
By the way, my son makes about $30,000 more than me anyway, so. But in answer to the question, and not to belabor the point, if we don't ask for it, we don't get it. And really, you know, will we, you know, I can look at those numbers and I have my own personal opinion, which I'll keep to myself, about what's going to happen with that. But again, you know, it's not an ultimatum, it's just something you might, you know, you put out there.
It's our job to
again,
make you guys aware.
you want to make it aware, you want to make people aware. If they decide not to do it, then that's fine.
No, it's not fine. That's the
Well,
problem.
the thing is,
It's fine for
it's
today,
fine.
but when he retires and I retire,
Well,
good luck trying to fill
that's-
these
that's-
positions
well,
for the numbers on that
that's-
piece of paper. And
Well,
if everybody thinks it's easy, by all means, if you can find another midget Pollock to come down here and fill my spot and pay him less than you're paying me, hire it.
I don't think there's any shorter than you, so that's.
So, I mean, in the end, if you go through the budget, you'll see where, you know, where the increases are, what the percentage increases are. The thing that comes out and sticks out, the bottom line, you know, we would have a very good budget with a net zero increase, as David said. If we have a few extra dollars, you throw it into capital, you come out with a net zero increase, and we're still going, because of savings in particular areas, we're gonna have a good budget.
Right, exactly, so two prongs of what I was gonna say. One, rounded up that last 9,700, so it's exactly even from last year, throw in capital, whatever. But number two, I also wanna make sure that with this timing of the big debt payment going down a hunk, like some years it's gone down 20,000, some years it's actually gone up, it went down a big hunk this year. You got a fairly big lease payment falling off. That's also your opportunity to make sure, I really want to make sure that, you talk about all the time, prices going up for your everyday things, your pesticides, insecticides, your whiting agents, that you are being realistic. I don't want you to
Yeah, no, we did.
be over aspirational in that either, but now's the time to make sure to kind of set that level of, hey, if I've been consistently going over here every year, let's just address that now and put it there.
Yeah, that's why you'll see, I mean, you know, if you look at the pesticide budget, I went up,
Gasoline, agent.
Yeah, 60. You want
I went up
65.
$9,500. What that gives me is two additional, it gives me one additional fairway application, and it gives me flexibility in product purchasing, whereas I can purchase products for greens and teas at a higher expense, but they also have a longer duration of efficacy. If you look at the fertility budget, yeah, it popped, you know, that went up $6,500.
Yeah.
That allows me to afford at least two fairway applications for wedding ages. So I tried to figure those in, and plus there's a little bit of room in there. The distributor said the prices aren't going to go up too much this year, but then again, you know, that was before all the other garbage that's going down, and you know, whether it be Iran or whether it be, you know, gasoline prices or whatever, and so on. So there's a little bit of a, you know, a fudge factor in there too, or a, you know, I don't know if this is going to happen factor.
And the only other thing that caught my eye real quick is you lowered food supplies, you know.
I did, I went off of what we actually spent, for last year, but I did increase the alcohol a little bit, but, I mean, we could put it back in there and just leave it there just in case. So, I mean, those are the things that,
Curious.
yeah.
Outings, like,
It's not a lot of money.
doing your own thing? Does that have something to do with it or not?
Possibly, that possibly could be
Quarter
it.
of a delivery.
Okay.
Well, the one thing we're gonna have to balance out at some point is, and it's not going to be a major impact, what's going to happen with those, the monies that we pay the treasurer collector and the accountant, and then what happens to the health insurance bill, and whether or not all these other things such as workers' compensation, unemployment, liability, Bristol County retirement, whether those go up and what they go up, what percentage. The one thing that we can calculate is, you know, Medicare is 1.45% of your payroll.
Yeah.
So, and I gave a little bit more, so instead of 1.45, it was 2%. So, because the payroll numbers at the top are, you know, like I said, were estimates, and whether or not that comes to fact, you know, that'll influence that Medicare number as well, so.
So, we pay the treasurer and the salary close to almost $18,000 a year
Yes,
Yeah,
for,
processing of paperwork. So the treasurer, she does payroll, and we do our nightly accounting and submit the reports, which they then take and put into the ledger. But we prepare all of those numbers that are key coded in. So technically, I mean, someone on our staff could be paid for bookkeeping as well.
yeah, and they, you know, and of course, the treasurer's office does the payroll. So, you know, we actually do the payroll, make sure the payroll is correct, turn it in. They go through the payroll, and then they come back to us and say, okay, you know, payroll check is done,
Sign it again.
here's your payroll, sign it again and send it back. And then the accounting department, for instance, when we have bills, you know, they do the processing. You know, we code the bill or the invoice, present it to them in a packet on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and then they do the necessary work that gets the bill paid. So that's what.
They get it on the warrant.
Those are the functions of the, you
Puts it
know,
through,
basically the
cut the
functions
checks.
of the two.
okay.
And, you know, and they may, you know, and of course you know, I don't know if this is a specifically or necessitated for being paid, but the treasurer's office also keeps you up to date on, you know, when open enrollment is, if there's gonna be a change in the benefit, if there's a change in, you know, they send these things out, but I'm assuming that's just a normal function of everyday
I would
business.
think that'd be
And that's
normal
not-
for everybody.
That's not in the, yeah, it goes out to everybody. Most of the time, it'll go out to department heads to distribute to employees, unless it's a union situation where it's mostly all contracted anyway.
Alright, so, Danny said you're not around next week, but Steve, would you be able to be at that?
Yeah, I don't know what time, I don't know if they're gonna start us first at 7 o'clock,
Yeah.
but the
Trying to
11th
find out
is a
what you
Tuesday, it was Wednesday, so yeah, I could
It's
be
a
there.
Wednesday.
Yeah, next week.
Wednesday, the 11th, is when you sit in front of finance committee. Huh?
I'm not here.
Yeah, here, you cat watching again? Is that-
No, that took a
I didn't realize it was so much money.
That took a little vacation. One of them we almost killed. But anyways,
You have to clean
I
up
don't
on
wanna say
taxes
kill,
to
we
keep
almost
this up.
lost it.
Yeah.
But no, I'll be in Aruba for,
Cats. That
No
was
cats.
stray dogs.
No,
Dogs sitting in Aruba.
no cats this year.
Yeah, so
I'll
I'll
try to be there if I can. I think
Yeah.
weekends, anybody else?
I think normally it's, I mean, I believe they start at 7 o'clock.
They do start at 7.
Whether
so-
or not you're the first person in the queue
They
at 7
send out
o'clock,
a-
who knows?
I've got it in on the committee, so I'll ask.
Yeah.
Dave, don't they
Find out
send
who
out
they-
a
who else-
order of?
Who else they're going with at that particular evening there?
Don't they
They do
send
it
out
all
a
in one day, they
protocol order?
I think they usually do.
They usually do,
Yeah.
yeah. Because the ones I've been to,
Yeah, well, some of them,
It's
yeah,
always
some of
the
them they group
protocol,
together
who's
that are
up,
real easy.
the
You know,
meeting.
like, you know,
This-
2 or 3
this
departments
one's
are
first, this
difficult,
one's
then the
second.
larger departments, they take
Right
one
when
or
you
two
go to
at a
the
time.
meeting?
Right.
Yeah, I think last time we were 11 or 12.
Yep.
Yeah.
okay.
So moving on to the exciting news, right, the clubhouse, we finally got the request for qualifications packet approved by the selectmen of the town, so it went out, it's been advertised as of this morning, 11 companies have asked for it already.
Nice.
That's good.
So it's good to show that there's interest and someone wants to be our project manager.
So that's actually what that is.
This is
Because I wasn't familiar with it, so I called Tim up and asked him what it was, and he said it was, you know, basically project manager.
Right, any public construction project over $1.5 million, you have to have an economic license.
Basically clerk of the works person, you watch it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, that's the same thing, clerk of the works owns project manager, same thing.
I got a question for
Yeah.
that, Dave. Yeah. All right,
I
so,
was just gonna say that, I'm
The-
sorry,
go-
of the 11 that have picked
Go
up,
ahead.
quite honestly, a couple of them are big, like out-of-state companies, they probably just respond to every advertisement. and
Yeah.
take it in. But there's at least 5 or 6 fairly local companies
Oh, good.
that told me straight out they will be responding to it.
That's good.
One of the things that's in it, and I probably should have asked you guys, like, they wanted, some of them indicated they just kind of wanted to get a rough idea, look at the site. So I put down in writing, this will be one opportunity, so we don't have like, have to have 5, 6, 7 people come aside, was Friday the 13th at noon. Is the gate gonna be open to?
No.
Friday, the 13th of March.
Yes.
Next Friday.
I mean, we're, at this time of year, we're not working it. I mean, I can arrange to, you know, because I can arrange to be here and have the gate open. The question is whether, you know, hopefully we'll be able to see everything.
I think.
I mean, if they wanted to, I mean, I could even, you know, plan ahead and make it available so we could, you know, drive around, but, you
I
know.
mean, with all they, I mean.
Is the
Is
site,
it gonna melt?
But so, right, so if it's, depending on the snow melting too, but it's saying, okay, here's what it looks like, here's what we have that's going away, here's where ideally we wanna site the new thing, just so they can put their eyes on it versus just reading it and, you know, so it doesn't need too much access, don't have
Yeah, I
to drive
mean-
around the course or anything, but to get down the roadway.
Yeah, the steps, yeah, I mean,
It's
yeah,
trailer.
I would, yeah, they'll be able, you know, hopefully, you know, you get enough melting, but they'll be able to see the spatial relationship, no problem.
Right, that's,
And right now, they can get, you can get all the way down to the clubhouse. I mean, we have a couple guys, couple of our high school, current high school guys who are on kind of like a work study program with us. So a couple days a week, they come, you know, for a couple hours a day, so they went out and shoveled out everything for the entrance to the clubhouse and stuff, so.
yeah, so.
We can get that far, you get to the putting green, you know,
Yeah, if we can.
So,
the
depending on.
Putting green where the tent would be the current trail, and just to be able to walk around that immediate site is really what they're looking to do.
Now, what time on the 13th?
Noon.
Noon?
Yeah, I can do that.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So the OPM,
Yep.
in other words, I'll skip whatever, site work is done through them?
No, so the OPM is really, again, they're our representative.
Okay.
The owner's representative for everything that we're gonna do going forward. So,
So-
once we would hire them,
Yeah,
right, they could help look and say, okay, here's a site work that needs to be done. Does that need to be part of a general contract? Do you wanna parse it out? But even before that, the first thing we're going to do after that is select who is the actual architect, who's gonna do the real detailed bid
Right,
drawings and
right,
bid documents
right.
for us. And then together, the project manager and the architect will hash those things out on our behalf. And we taking our input, like if we have certain wants, needs, questions,
yeah.
you know, again, the project manager is in theory a licensed engineer or architect, and then take what we want and then make it fit what structurally, legally, everything else is going to fit the project. So that before it goes out to bid, it incorporates everything that we want or don't want out of it.
So why I'm asking, so site work, or, you know, the beginning of this whole thing, would we be okay trying to get local people? Do we suggest that to them?
Yeah.
Or do they tell us, this is what you're getting?
Oh,
No,
no,
I think, are you guys gonna hire a general and he's gonna sub, or how are you gonna?
right, so it's got, once everything's designed, right, it's gonna
Yeah.
have to be bid as a general contract.
It's gonna have to be built as a
Subsidize
as a
out.
package. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
But you can also, leading up to that, if they thought it was cost beneficial and efficient to us to break it out into,
Break it out
say,
into
two
parts.
contracts, say site work separate from everything else.
Right.
Especially depending on the timing of this, now that
Right.
we're a couple months later than we
Right.
thought. That would be like the architect and the OPM together saying, hey, you know what, it could make sense to do this on its own.
Okay.
And then the big general bid is everything else.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they would be the ones that could say logistically, companies that they work with, companies that they know, would that make sense, would it not make sense?
All right, I was just curious for, local people that,
Right.
well, site work, there's a bunch of them out in this town, so.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't know,
exactly, and there
contractors.
might be people who can do site work who don't have the right certifications to take on the whole project.
Right, exactly.
Good stuff.
So,
They can do smaller.
so in that case, I think we would save ourselves some,
Right, so those are the exact kind of things that, once we have the OPM hired,
right,
they'll come and meet with us and we'll
Right.
exactly discuss that with them and say, in your experience, would that work? Would that save us money? Could it be more efficient? And they're supposed to be representing only us. We're hiring them to represent our wants and needs.
okay. Just
So this meeting
curious.
Friday is just gonna be, everybody can show up, like all the,
Any of the people who've picked up
Okay.
those 11 companies, if they want, right? Actually, I put in there, in order for us to seriously consider their proposal, they need to at least visit the site, even if it is for 5 minutes, to say, I've seen, I understand how it works, show up. So anybody who's seriously interested will
Right.
be there that following Friday.
Not some group from California just sending out
Exactly.
program letters.
Because part of that too is to keep, not to keep them away, but to, the people who really aren't interested.
Right.
And then they're not gonna make the effort to come even look at it, how can they give us a legitimate proposal if they don't
Correct.
even know what we're talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's something that's not gonna take a
Well, I
long
mean, you would
time.
think if they could,
I like
if they were gonna give you, they'd wanna have some idea in the back of their head
Right.
what access was going to be, logistic wise and what have you, so they can give you a good,
Well,
bid.
Yeah,
I
right,
mean, one of
right.
them, quite honestly, several months ago, he knew this was coming down the pipe, and I think it was even before the town meeting vote even, but he knew we were leading up to it, and he lives fairly locally. He just told me that he drove down there one time and just kind of walked around and looked at things, just so he could gauge himself. He told me he was looking at telephone poles, where's the power coming in?
Right.
Just from seeing our meetings, he knew we were looking
Yeah.
at the putting green, he's like, okay, where's that? He asked me, where's the septic system? I don't really know. Then I might have asked one of you two guys afterwards.
So the tanks are by the flags, but
Yeah.
the leach field is
So
up
he's
really
really
seven
sensitive.
feet.
Yeah, so,
Right,
so those are the
Gets
types of
pumped-
things
gets
that
pumped
these
up.
guys
Pumps
wanna
up to the hill,
visualize
yeah.
too, before coming into
And that
it.
septic system was
We
supposed to
have
be
something
designed
to do.
Yes.
to accommodate 150 people.
Yeah, and we don't use it for that.
No.
Well, you don't use it for that, but
No.
it's a certain age, so.
30 years,
Your
almost
friends
30
at the
years old.
state might want
Yeah,
you
Well,
to,
that's
you
what
know.
this guy said too, he said, just because it was sized right 28 years ago, doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's sized right now, because the laws changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we sold my wife's house, 30-some years ago. How old is Josh? He's 30, so it was 28 years ago.
Yeah.
We had to redo the septic
Well, they're
system.
not
There wasn't a bloody thing wrong. It worked fine. Just the state has to get their cut,
Yeah, so, yeah, just so you guys know, if you're around, available on Friday the 13th at noon is when the OPMs will be there, so, yeah, so I'll probably show up around 11:30 just to make sure someone's there. I guess there's not really.
Well,
much
I
to
think,
say.
yeah, I'll be there at 11:30 to make, I'll have the gate open anyway.
Thanks.
Is it bad juju that it's Friday the 13th?
I want just so you guys know, the date I put in there too, and I think I sent out the package to you guys, just in case you didn't read all the dates. So then 2 weeks after that, Friday the 27th, is the due date for them to turn everything back into us. So if they're really interested in us, they'll have the packages back to us by the 27th. And then I feel we can take, as soon as we can in April's, review them and pick
So
out.
so it's 2 weeks
Okay.
after the, so.
I like it.
Yeah. So that has to go through the regular bid the bids have to be opened and.
You're
Is
trying
that-
to
is
catch
that-
up.
Is that a low bid thing or?
No,
is-
there's actually, at this point, there's no money involved. This is.
That's right.
It's opposed to RFQ,
That's
is a
right,
request for
yeah.
qualification, so it's all based on who we
Should
feel is
they
the
be in
best
the room?
fit. And then,
Okay.
what you can do is, then beyond that, you rank them, but if the top ranked person wants a ridiculous fee that we just feel is out of our ballpark, but then you can move on to the second person. So we'll end up ranking them as who we feel is the best, and probably take the top 3 or 4. If we want to have them come back in person, just explain how they would, their experience in doing something similar, how they would represent us, and then pick the top one, and hopefully their price would be, a lot of it's kind of industry averages too, so I really don't think there would be a huge price difference between any of them when it gets to that point.
Otherwise, they would never get jobs.
Right, if they're too far out of it, knowing that this is how it works, they're not gonna get any of it,
Right.
so. They're not gonna price themselves out either, if they're truly interested in it, and especially if we've got even 5 or 6, they're gonna know that the other, and even on paper, I recognize some of the names,
Okay.
any one of them can do it. You know,
Yeah.
They've all have a lot of experience in public construction.
Yeah.
It's just who we feel would be the best fit for us and our relatively small sized project versus some of the things I know these guys have done.
So make sure we put the pool in the right spot.
Yeah. Make sure it's in the sun. Should we look at another date?
Should we try and make it past the 27th? Is that?
One thing, maybe we should probably look as in early in April as possible, but after the 27th, that way we can have them, copies in front of us. And
Ninth?
Either 4/2 or 4/9, right?
Yes.
let me just check the second.
April 2nd is, the 2nd and the 9th, the first 2 Thursdays.
I have nothing so far.
Yeah, I'm good right now.
I'm all right, second, whatever, 9th, either one.
It's up to you guys.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
I'll make it the 2nd then, because everything will be fresh in your mind, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we're the 5th of March, so you're approximately a month away from this meeting, so.
yeah.
Yeah, if we can do the second that way, so that, because then that's a week and a half after those come in anyway. So we struggle, I think that way we can end this time. Because otherwise we're waiting even one more week for us to potentially have any recommendations to the selectmen or anything, so. Yeah, let's do the second.
Where do we-
4:30?
Where do we think it'll be?
Here?
Yeah, it'll be somewhere in this building.
Okay.
Like it'll be either up here or downstairs, depending on if someone else is using that space.
Sounds good.
All right. So with that, let's do a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.